In this video, I will be demonstrating how to schedule a WebEx meeting or event using the Advanced Scheduler option. But before we go there, I want to go back to the ACC page here. And this is the page that you can request a WebEx account. And you can see right here in the middle of the page, or at the top of the page, is where you can request your account. After you have requested your account and you log in, and in this case I already logged in, you see here in the upper right hand corner I'm logged in. You want to make sure you're at the Meeting Center tab. You may have various meeting types that you can schedule a meeting, but in our case we're using the Meeting Center. Along the left hand side of the page you want to click on Schedule a Meeting. After that, go to Advanced Scheduler. And so now you're here at the main page where you can start scheduling your meeting using the Advanced Scheduler. The required information, so we want to go ahead and leave it to Meeting Center Pro. Give your meeting a name. And then set a password. You are required to set a password. In this case, I'm going to use 4 A's. And I'm going to allow that my meeting be seen here in the calendar once it's created. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit after I run through how to set up the meeting. Coming back to the right hand side, we click on Date and Time. I'm going to schedule the meeting for the next day at 9 in the morning. I will allow my attendees to join the meeting 15 minutes in advance. I will also allow my attendees to connect to the audio conference. The meeting will be an hour long. And I will not send out email reminders to my attendees. Of course, you have the option of allowing that if you want to. In this case, I'm selecting none. Coming back to the right hand side of the page, next is audio conference. And this is probably one of the most important elements to determine how you want your meeting to be conducted. Most of the times, drop down menu here, I select voice over IP. And what that means basically is that all of my sound that people will be hearing will be coming through a microphone that I have connected to my computer. And that they will need a computer with a microphone to talk with you. Another option is to use WebEx audio. So that would mean that you can still have a microphone connected to your computer, and also people could call into a telephone number and at least hear the meeting in that manner. If you have a conference phone in the room, then you could also use that phone to talk with people and not use the microphone on the computer. But in this case, I'm going to just go ahead and leave it in WebEx audio. I'm going to disable or select the no tone for the entry and exit tone. And that mainly means that when people join in the meetings, you will not be hearing the beep or any kind of sound when they join the meeting. Back to the right hand side, invite attendees. If you already have a list of names that you know you're going to send invitations, this is where you would do it. Most of the time, I go ahead and send myself an invitation more as a double check of my work that I have done here when I schedule the meeting. And I also enable this that within the invitation that people receive or that you are going to receive, there's a little paragraph that recommends that people test their computers to make sure that they have rich media players. Next, I'm going to registration. This is an advanced option. Most of the time I set it to none, but if you think you have a list of attendees that are going to be part of your meeting and you want them to register then you would select the require attendee registration. But again, that's an advanced feature, and if you think you're interested in that, please let me know. We can talk more about that. Back to the right-hand side of the page, agenda and welcome. And this is where you can put a little blurb or description of what the meeting is going to be about. The rest of it, I leave it blank. Meeting options. You can see here that you select options that you want participants to have when the meeting begins. I'm going to allow people to chat with each other, or to chat with me at least as a host or presenter, and also I will allow them to join the meeting using their webcams, and we can see each other that way. I'm going to disable the notes, file transfer, and enable UCF Rich Media attendees. We're almost at the end, going back to the right-hand side, attendee privileges. And so again, you can allow, or you can choose not to allow, people to see a long list of names of who's part of the meeting. In this case, I will disable it. And I'm going to disable the control applications. And since I have allowed participants to chat, I'm going to say they can chat with the host and the presenter, but not other participants. Last is review, and this is all the information that you have filled out. If you're happy with that, then you go back to the right-hand side, and the last step is clicking on the schedule meeting. And so there you go. This is telling you that you have a meeting called Team Meeting, and here's the date and time that it's going to be conducted. I'm going to say add to my calendar. So if I go back here to the left-hand side of the page, and I go to My Meetings, you can see that for January 12th, I have set up a couple of meetings. I have one at 9 and at 4 o'clock, and that is only there because I allowed it, or I enabled that to be seen on the list. I will say that you can edit any information you want if something changes. So like, let's say we go to this 9 o'clock meeting and I need to update it or make a change. You can do that by clicking on edit. And so I realized that the meeting is not starting at 9 but at 10. I would select that and then save the meeting, and that will update it. And then if you had any attendees with that, you sent out that invitation, then it would send them that information. But I'm going to say to no one. So there we go. I want to go back to schedule to my meetings here. So if you were actually going to start the meeting the day of, you would go to My Meetings, you find your meeting, and then press Start. And I can talk about that later in another video of how you start a meeting and how you set up the webcam and microphones, but we won't do that now. And just quickly, I want to show you the OneClick Meeting. And basically what that would be is if you wanted to hold a quick meeting with somebody on the fly or impromptu, you would just select OneClick Meeting. And that's kind of like establishing a Skype call or a Google video chat. And basically it would take you into the same kind of interface that we would see if we were running a regular meeting. And you don't have to schedule any information, you just do it on the fly. I'm going to end that meeting now. I'm going to go back to My Meetings. And I want to say that if you start a meeting and actually end it, or end the meeting instead of leaving the meeting, what happens is you have a URL associated with that meeting. And if you end the meeting, that URL link is no longer valid or good. So you want to be careful that when you start a meeting, you don't end it prematurely or accidentally. And I want to show you a little bit of recorded meetings. So you do have the option, once you start a meeting, to enable a recording of that session. So I have a number of recordings here. I want to quickly show you what that looks like. You have a link here that's associated with that recording, and that can be something that you can copy and paste and send out to people who were not able to join the meeting. They can at least see what happened, or to send out to any attendees that you know were part of the meeting, and they can have that information to review later. And I want to quickly go back to the invitation that you'll get, or you can edit and send out to people. So here's my email, and I'm going to find the information. And so this is a generic email that WebEx creates, which you can copy and paste and then send out to your expected attendees. And here you have the essential information about the meeting. And then right here is where you have the URL for that meeting. And then if you have decided to allow people to call in, there's the information about that. And the last little thing that I think is really highly important is this paragraph about making sure that people check their computers and checking their computers to make sure that they have the right applications installed so that they can run the meeting. So this invitation can be edited, and you can tweak it and then send out to your audience or your expected attendees. And if you have any questions, then just let me know, and then we can talk more about that. So that's a quick rundown of how to schedule a meeting using the advanced scheduler. Thank you.